Hi everyone, welcome back. So far we've gotten down to where we found the temperature in Celsius. And now because we live in the United States, we've got one more calculation to do to go from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now that calculation is going to look like this. I'm going to come down here and open up some space. Again, making sure that I'm staying inside the void loop. There's the opening curly brace. There's the closing one. So make sure you stay in there. Every once in a while you're programming, hit the auto indent button here to clean up any indentation issues that might be. Like it may not be indented far enough or whatever. That'll help us kind of problem solve things in the future. All right, so this next one is going to be, we take the Celsius temperature, and this equation you can actually find online for converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. We take the temp C and we multiply it by 1.8, and then we just add 32 to that, semicolon. Again, Arduino will do this calculation and forget it instantly, so we got to tell it where to put it, and we need to put it in a variable. Why not call that variable temp F, just to be consistent with temp C. Again, we could choose any name we wanted here, it doesn't matter, but temp F will let us remember what it is. Now we've created a new variable, we haven't made the variable yet, so let's come back up here, and again, this is going to be a float, because we're still going to be having decimals for temp F, and semicolon. Awesome. Again, no starting value for temp F. I'm going to enter a few extra lines here so I have some space to work with. And then let's put a quick explanation here. This converts the Celsius to Fahrenheit temperatures. Temperature. I think I've spelled all that correctly, but my brain's a little foggy this morning. All right, next thing I'm going to do is come grab these two serial prints because I need to see if this works now. I want to test it every time I do something. Click those two lines, paste them in there. I'm going to change this to F and this to F. So now it's printing temperature Fahrenheit variable, and fix this. Whoops. Fahrenheit here. All right, I don't need these. I know they're working, so I'm going to do Control/, and go ahead and download this and see if it's working. Now you should be getting numbers. Well, up here you should be getting numbers in the low to mid 20s is room temperature in Celsius. Now you should be getting numbers between the 60s and low 70s. If you are, everything's working. If not, again, don't sweat it. We'll figure out the temperature sensor issue. There's something probably wrong with your sensor. We'll get it figured out for you. But just keep plowing along with the videos. All right. So pause the video here, run this code, and see if it's spitting out the correct temperatures here. Okay, so now you're back. You've got everything's working, hopefully. And now we need to do some if statements. So in our flow chart, we said, hey, we asked the question, is it cool? And if so, turn one LED on. If it's medium, turn one on and the other two off. If it's a medium, we turn two on and one off. And if it's hot, we turn all three on. So here's what an if statement looks like in Arduino. You literally type in the word if and then parentheses. The condition goes inside this parenthesis. And what we're checking is the value in temp F. Is temp F greater than, less than, sorry. We want for this first one with the cool, we want is the temperature less than, and we want to have some number for our baseline temp. So here we're gonna say baseline temp, and that's a new variable that we're creating here. So we're gonna go up and create this variable. So here float is baseline temp, and I've already misspelled it. It's a big word not to do right, so I'm gonna double click on it and make sure the other one's purple down here, and they are, so they're the same. That's good, check. And now I need to give this a value. So this is going to be that value when that first one turns on. So I'm going to do baseline temp of, I don't know, maybe like 68 degrees. It really depends on, equals space 68. It really depends on what your temperature sensor is reading. We can play with this number. The idea is that the light will be off at room temperature, and then it turns on when someone grabs onto it. So you want it a little bit warmer than whatever the room temperature is by maybe a degree or so. All right, I'm going to leave it at 68. We can play with that number later. It's at the top, so it'll be easy to find here. All right, so if temp is less than baseline temp, so it's less than 60 degrees, we need to do some stuff. So here we are going to do an open curly brace. That opens the if statement. Notice there's no semicolon here. Just like a for loop, we don't add a semicolon, we do an open curly brace. When I hit enter, notice Arduino creates a closing curly brace for me. I'm going to hit enter a few more times just to give myself some space inside the if statement. And we said if it's low baseline temp, then we actually do want one light to come on. I said that wrong earlier. And so we're going to do a digital write. And I've misspelled digital. Oh, I've misspelled write as well. Okay, struggling today. Now, digital write needs to know what pin we're writing. And we're going to come up here and say, hey, we're going to write to the blue LED pin. That's what we're going to. So I'm going to come down here and just put in blue LED pin. And it needs to know whether it's going to be high or low. Now, this one, we're going to call it high. And then turns on the blue LED. So instead of having to memorize which pin it's in, the blue one, I can just do blue LED and Control C, Control V. We said we also wanted to make sure the yellow and the red one were off. So I'm going to come here and switch this to yellow and this one to red. And then put both to low. And then this turns the yellow, turns off and off in red. Awesome. So now I've got my 3 LEDs turning on or off if the current temperature, right? Oh, sorry, this should be temp F. Check yours to make sure. If I hadn't fixed that, when I would go to upload it to the Arduino, it would throw this error that was like the variable wasn't declared in the scope, which means there isn't a variable made with that name. So usually that's a misspelling error. Yep, there it is. Temp was not declared in the scope. So I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be temp F, my bad. All right, perfect. Everything else looks good there. No other errors were thrown, or at least not until then. And now we need to do another if. So this is the if it's a little bit warmer. So we're going to just do if, and again, temp F is what we're comparing, is greater than or equal to. So this gives us a greater than or equal to. That's how you write that, with the greater than first and equal to next. Baseline temp plus 3. Or let's do 4. You can play around with this number to figure out how big an increment you need to get it to work for you. So this is saying that, hey, if the temperature is less than baseline, less than 68, then turn the blue one off, yellow and red on. If the temperature is greater than the baseline temp, oh, sorry, this should be less than. My apologies. If temp F is less than baseline temp plus 4, so that's 72. If it's less than 72, then it's going to be here. Okay. And this one should be in equals as well. But the problem with doing it this way is that if it's less than baseline temp, it's going to do this one. But if it's less than baseline temp plus 4, anytime it's less than baseline temp, it'll also be less than this. So we'll try and run both of these. We don't want that. So we're going to link these two ifs using an else if statement. So instead of two different ifs, we do an else in front of it, an else if. So it does this one. If this one runs, it ignores this one, skips it, and goes to the next one. If this one doesn't work, if it's not less than baseline temp, then it will run this one. All right, now we do a semicolon, or sorry, a curly brace here, not a semicolon. That would be wrong. Enter, add a few more lines to work with. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste these 3 digital rights down here. Clean up that indentation. And now if it's this, if it's less than baseline temp, if it's less than 72, we're going to go high. Otherwise, low. All right. We need one more here. And we're going to do an else. And then we need another one that's connected to it. So we have an if, we have an, oops, not there. I'm going to delete these extra spaces now that I know I'm done with those. And this, oops, this should be on. We have an if, an else if, and we have one more condition. And in an if, else, if statement, the last condition is just an else, and it doesn't need a parenthesis because it's going to run when these two didn't work. So everything else will happen here. So we just have else with a curly brace and enter. It doesn't need this like temperature thing because it's going to run when it's ever not below this one or below this one. It's going to run this one. And in that case, we want these all on. All right, we made a lot of big jumps here in this one, so we want all 3 high. Okay, and that should do it. Go ahead and try uploading this. I'm going to clean up some of these extra spaces here. Go ahead and try running this. I'm going to keep these all tight together so that I can see that they're all one chunk of code. Run this, and these we know working, so I'm going to control/comment those out. And then go ahead and run this and see if it's actually making the lights do stuff. You can play around with this number here to make a bigger distinction between the things, and also this number here. Remember, this is the temperature that starts turning the first one on. This is the temperature that it turns the second one on. And technically the third one comes on after that. All right, give it a try, see if it's working. If so, yay. If not, I can help you figure it out. Have a good day.